Hello and welcome along to round 3 of ETGT League Season 6, the Australian Grand Prix. We are at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne. This is also the venue that hosted the very first ETF1 League race back in Season 1, where Mitchell Collin took the victory for Red Bull Racing. So let's take a look at the championship standings as we head into round 3, and Liam Jensen, well ahead of Peter Morgan there, who made his spectacular ETF1 League debut in Saudi Arabia. He finds himself with the same amount of points as Hayden Veld and Solomon Fakhri. Second, third and fourth is very tight there, and Chris Badajak only 1 point behind them as well, 5th place. So let's take a look at the constructors standings, and Aston Martin 59 points ahead of Ferrari, who are on 51 points and just behind, and then Mercedes third with 40 points. So the last time we came here to the Albert Park circuit was the final round of Season 5, where the drivers ran their own teams, and Chris Badajak won Race 1 for Sicko Motorsport, and Hayden Veld took out the victory in Race 2 for Budlington Motorsport. So let's take a look at the grid and see how they line up for round 3, and Peter Morgan takes pole position for Mercedes ahead of Solomon Fakhri driving for Ferrari, and Trent Fuller in third position for Aston Martin finds himself ahead of Chris Badajak, who will start 4th for Ferrari, and Hayden Veld, Blake Williamson and Liam Tipping find themselves disqualified. The one-lap qualifying session and the track limits proving difficult for the 3 drivers, including your double world champion Liam Tipping, who makes his return here at Albert Park, who took his first ETF1 victory here at Albert Park all the way back in Season 4. So let's take a look at the highlights now from the Australian Grand Prix. It's lights out at the Australian Grand Prix as the cars head into Turn 1, with Peter Morgan in first position ahead of Solomon Fakhri and Trent Fuller. After starting the race in a Red Bull sandwich, Blake Williamson gets overtaken by Hayden Veld into Turn 5. The McLaren driver now in last place. Having out-qualified the Ferrari driver, Trent Fuller finds himself with Chris Badajak all over his rear as he lines up an overtake down the back straight. The Ferrari driver gets the move done and moves up to third, and the Red Bulls also find themselves past the Aston Martin driver. The Red Bulls have speed as Liam Tipping lines up a move on Chris Badajak, who now finds himself in the Red Bull sandwich. And as the drivers go on to start lap 5, Chris Badajak is chasing down the Red Bulls. Hayden Veld finds himself in a bit of trouble at Turn 2. This allows Chris Badajak and Trent Fuller to repass him. Meanwhile, up ahead, Solomon Fakhri and Peter Morgan are having a good old scrap for first place. And after losing control of his car at Turn 2, Hayden Veld gets back into a rhythm and lines up a pass on Trent Fuller. Solomon Fakri is first to pit out of the leaders. He finds himself in a bit of traffic as he chucks the medium tyres on his car. Solomon gets the move done quickly. There's no time to waste as he tries to make the undercut work. And just before starting lap 15, however, Solomon would run into a bit of trouble and find himself behind Trent Fuller again. Solomon finds the invisible wall out of the last turn. Solomon finds himself just behind the Red Bull of Liam Tipping as he comes out of the pits. Peter Morgan still out in first position, doing a longer first stint than Solomon and Liam. And after struggling for most of the race in the McLaren, Blake Williamson finds himself in a nice scrap with Trent Fuller's Aston Martin. The McLaren runs wide and Trent Fuller gets his place back. The crowd are loving this. After carving his Red Bull through the field, Hayden Veld finds himself in the battle for first against Solomon's Ferrari. Peter Morgan's finally pitted his Mercedes and he finds himself in a good scrap with Liam Tipping's Red Bull. So Chris Paddock was up in third place. He has pitted. And now Liam Tipping and Peter Morgan are fighting over third place, with Solomon just ahead of him in second. There's 3 laps to go. Liam Tipping's up to second. And Solomon and Peter Morgan are now fighting for third. And on the second last lap, Peter Morgan and Liam Tipping are still fighting it out for second, although Peter Morgan finds the wall. There's not much room there between the Red Bull and the wall. And looks like Peter Morgan found the wall first. And then he pinballs off Liam Tipping and then back into the wall, losing part of his front wing. He wasn't the only one to encounter trouble towards the end of the race, with Chris Padajak spinning and hitting the wall as well. The Ferrari driver was able to continue, however, as Hayden Veld crosses the line to take the victory in Australia. And here is your podium and top three from the race, with Hayden Veld in first, Solomon Fakhri second, and Peter Morgan in third.
Oh, yeah?
So Hayden Veld takes the victory here at the Australian Grand Prix, his second win at this circuit after winning the last race at last season. And he also takes driver of the day after starting towards the rear of the grid, carving his way through, and he finishes in first place. So let's take a look at the race results, and there we go, Hayden Veld, Solomon and Peter Morgan, your top three. Now Liam Tipping was in second place, but he had 23 seconds worth of penalties, so he tumbled down the order, finds himself in fourth, Chris Padajak in fifth, Blake Williamson in sixth, and Trent Fuller, also with a number of penalties, finds himself in last position. Hayden Veld also takes the fastest lap, so he'll score an extra point for that one. And Liam Tipping, also the only driver to do a two-stop strategy there in the race. As we take a look at the drivers' standings after the Australian Grand Prix, and Hayden Veld moves into first position with 52 points, and Solomon Fakhri up to second place with 44 points. Liam Jensen, after not participating in the Australian Grand Prix, gets bumped down to third. And look at that, second, third, fourth position, only separated by 2 points. Peter Morgan in fourth place. And Liam Tipping, making his season 6 debut, finds himself in ninth position with 12 points, behind Harsha Hossa. Let's take a look at the constructor standings of Ferrari, and now in first position with 79 points, ahead of Aston Martin and 65 points, and Red Bull really shot up now after Hayden Veld's victory and Liam Tipping's return. They are now third with 64 points. And that wraps things up here at the Australian Grand Prix. We'll leave you with a bunch of photos from round 3, and we'll be back for round 4, the Spanish Grand Prix.